All right, for the second part of segment 1, we're going to start our series where we dive into the character classes for Rules Cyclopedia. We're going to cover each character class as its own video. So if you want to know all about the Cleric, well, you've come to the right place. We're going to talk about the Rules Cyclopedia Cleric, or the Basic Dungeons & Dragons Rules Cyclopedia Cleric. And we're going to see what it offers, how simple it is. Is it different from what you expect? Is it the same? Do you already know? Well, then throw some stuff in a chat and let us know you know. In the meantime, let's that up there. All right, Heathen Dog will be back in just a moment. Got our book on the screen. And let's go to the Cleric page, which was 15, but instead I decided to scroll. All right. We'll do this, we'll look at some of the other text before. So it's going to talk about the character classes, right? So the character classes are described below. You have the human ones, which are Cleric, Fighter, Magic User, and Thief. We're going to be talking about the Cleric today. And then you have 3 demi-human classes, Dwarf, Elf, and Halfling. That is right, racist class. And 2 special human classes, the Druid and the Mystic. Now, why are they later and why are they optional? One of them for sure is because you really can't even be it until you're like 9th level. All right. The other one, I think it's because it came in a later book from the original. I think it came in the Master Companion book, if I remember correctly. That might be why. I'm not 100% sure. Plus, it's got some weird features to it that might not be, you might not want in your game necessarily up front. But, everything's optional in at your table. But I think these are coded as optional simply because they add something different that you might not be ready for. All right, the box material shows abbreviated information about the character class, so we'll see that up front. It'll just talk real quickly about, hey, this is what to expect if you play it. Description, we'll dive into that. Experience table shows what, how many experience points you need to level up. Saving throws table, if you watch our character creation one, completely forgot that the character saving throw table is with the character class. We didn't actually have to go to the chart at the back of the book, but whatever. We'll look at the saving throws for the character and then class details. Special abilities. We are going to focus on some of these special abilities and the higher levels of experience because everybody gets something at 9th level. This is even different than like AD&D 2nd edition where, okay, you can build a keep if you want. You actually have a decision to make at 9th level, which I think is pretty cool. And they're similar but different across the board. So I know a lot of people in the first video, and we didn't talk about it at all, talk about Mystara because this is like the core rulebook for the Mystara setting. Until the last few videos, we're not getting into Mystara. We're not worried about the setting. We're just going with what the rules are in the book. But yes, this is. If you like Mystara, if you like the Gazetteers, if you like Hollow World, this is the rulebook to support that setting. So, and then I don't think we have to dive into understanding the tables because we'll talk about them as we get there. We have enough experience to hopefully understand most of the stuff. So let's start with the Cleric. Now this is the negative side of using, it's straightened out, never mind. So Cleric, prime requisite is wisdom. Clerics, you want to be wise. You want to be that sage old priest that does the right thing and makes the right choices and doesn't succumb. You're strong in your faith, right? Well, you get an experience point bonus for a wisdom of 13 to 15. Of 5% if it's 13 to 15, and 10% if it's 16 to 18. So that's pretty cool. If anybody's done 2nd edition stuff, what is it? At 16 you get your bonus?
Yeah, 16 you get a start, yeah.
Yeah, so here you get a little bonus at 13. You get a D6 hit point per level up to 9th level, and then starting with 10, it's 1 hit point per level after that, and constitution adjustments no longer apply. And that's going to be pretty consistent for every class. Is starting at 10th level, it'll be plus something and no longer getting constitution adjustments.
Even right? The fighter? I want to see that.
Well, we'll do the fighter.
Yeah, we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Literally the next one, but it'll be the next video. Maximum level is 36. Weird that it's a hard cap. Because, again, I compare so much to 2nd edition because it's what I know. 2nd edition, there's a soft cap at 20, but honestly, you could level to 25, 36, 99, whatever. You just kind of follow a little progression.
Yeah, you just progress the chart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This one says maximum level 36, so at 36, you're done. What about immortals? Look, guys, calm down. Armor, any plus a shield, so you can wear any armor as a cleric.
Yep.
Weapons, no edged or pointed weapons, all others permitted. Now, when we get into a weapon mastery, which will be weeks down the road, but when we get into weapon mastery, one of the things I want you to understand is that your character class can use every weapon available to him, okay? So, as a cleric. As long as he's not using edge or pointed weapons, so as long as he's using a bludgeoning, a blunt weapon of some sort, he's proficient in it.
Yes.
That's simple. Weapon mastery will dive into special attacks.
Specific weapons.
Yeah. Yes. But it doesn't work necessarily even like specialization. It works even differently than that. It's more like special features.
That's fine. Moving on.
So just note that you don't have to pick a weapon. It's a style. And in this case, bludgeoning. If it clubs people, you can use it. And then special abilities, turning undead and clerical spells, which is going to be neat. A cleric is a human character who is dedicated to serving a great and worthy cause. This doesn't say God there. This cause can be an immortal being dedicated to a specific goal or attribute. Sometimes the cleric is serving only his alignment and has no interest in immortal beings. The D&D game does not deal with the ethical and theological beliefs of the characters in the game. Do you know what does, though?
What?
Your setting.
Fair.
The point of these rules, while yes, they are the core rules to Mystara, if you make your own setting, you don't have to have gods in your world. If you do have gods, you should probably do them properly and, force religion on people in that case, but you don't have to. And that's what's kind of neat about this. I know a lot of 5e people go, see, that's what we've had all along. No, 5e went stupid, went off the deep end when it comes to some of this. But the idea is if you don't have gods in your world or you don't want to deal with gods in your world, but you still want healing magic, you can do it and you can still be a cleric.
Right. And it actually opens you up at 9th level to explain how you can become a druid. I'm not leaving my faith. My faith was always my alignment.
Right.
So
we're going to talk more about that when we do talk about the druid. There's other stuff that happens at 9th level. 9th level, it's like the door opener for characters in basic. But he's absolutely right. Because you start as a cleric before you can be a druid. All clerics belong to orders or clerical societies made up of clerics serving the same ends. So this could be ELF. Earth Liberation Front. You could be a terrorist group. You could be
ISIS.
Let's go with another one. You could be ISIS. But you're part of an order that has attainable goals, and you're serving some sort of end. You could be spreading goodwill in nature. You could be the Salvation Army. That's actually technically a church, by the way. But ringing bells and annoying people at Christmas. Anyway, all cleric they belong to orders made serving same ends. A brand new cleric character is at the very bottom of his clerical organization. You think? As he gains experience, you can be a Freemason. As he gains experience levels, he will also gain new powers and responsibilities pertaining to his clerical order. So that means his responsibilities will be based on whatever order he serves. If you joined your union, your work union, okay, and for some reason you are now part of the Teamsters can be clerics. You'd have to word it well, but as long as you're going for those goals that you want to attain, especially when early unions in the early 1900s. Yes, that is your passion. That's what you do. But you're going to start on the bottom, and as they trust you more powers will come to you.
Yeah. Well, think of the Salvation Army thing. Starting at the bottom, you're outside Kroger's, ringing that bell in the dead of winter, freezing your butt off. But as you go up in level, now you're the supervisor of those people freezing their ass off, and you get to stay in a crappy office. And then you get higher than that. You're at a a managerial level. Now you have a nice office, and you're in charge of the supervisors who are in charge of the people freezing their ass off. So
wait until he gets to hear about 9th level.
Yeah, but as you go up in the organization, not only do you get benefits, but you also have responsibilities. You are responsible for your organization more and more as you climb it. So there's going to be a give and take in that.
Normally wait till the end to put these up, but this is, fraternity is a great way of, and we don't mean a college frat. We mean, a real fraternity. All right, where we the DM will decide and will inform you how the clerical orders of his campaign are arranged. Now, let's be honest. Most of them are going to be gods, or extraplanar powers, whatever. But come up with something interesting. A cleric can learn to cast spells after gaining a level of experience. Wait, what? A first level cleric cannot cast any spells.
Yeah. You haven't proven yourself yet. No one and no thing is going to give you divine ability at first level. You're a chump.
Right.
Prove it.
Once he reaches second level, he can begin to cast spells. That is a different thing especially for second. I think first edition is the same way, if I remember correctly, of Advanced Dungeons Dragons. They can cast spells right out of the gate. I know in second edition for sure.
That one makes more sense to me because becoming first level means you have already proven yourself to be of the faith and be trustworthy enough to be granted abilities. I agree with that more than this, but I understand it.
Let's see. Cleric's spell power comes from the strength of the cleric's beliefs. The cleric sits and meditates and magically learns spells, and we'll get into that in a couple of weeks, the whole spell memorization part. These spells can then be used during an adventure. Most clerical spells are for healing, protection. Oh God, where's the... There we go. And gathering information. Clerical spells are different from magic user spells. Clerics can use only their own type of spells. Yeah, magic users and clerics, you can't go to the magic user spells. You can't even go to the druid spells. You have your own list of spells that you can cast as a cleric. They never utilize magic user spells. Clerics have good fighting skills and can fight monsters. That's one of the things that I think has happened. Look, some people argue with me on this one, but I think that the cleric in second edition AD&D, I know we're not talking about that, but it's a perfect example, is OP. Absolutely overpowered. You get spell-like abilities, and while your attack combat isn't quite as good as a fighter, you can wear all the armors. It's still damn good. It's still dang good. You can wear all the armors, and you have spells. What? And your hit points are still pretty dang good. Yeah, clerics are tough. A lot of people forget that clerics are supposed to be fighting.
Yes. Yeah, they are a fighting faith. That's what they are. That's what they're made for. I mean, they call him a cleric instead of a priest, instead of a padre, instead of all that stuff, because a cleric is like a Templar. You know, he is a fighting man of God. You know, or the Union, the Teamsters, or the Teamsters, or PETA, or whatever. Yeah, you know, name your terrorist organization. You know,
wow,
PETA, ISIS, you know, whatever. But
people who
you know,
eat tasty animals.
Yeah, there you go. No, but clerics kick ass for the Lord. All right, that's what they do. That's what they're supposed to do. So he's not a heal bot.
Well, he can't even be one at first, right?
First level, he's proving himself to his faith or his belief or whatever.
A cleric can wear any type of armor, like a fighter. He can use many types of weapons, but cannot use edged or piercing weapons of any sort. Unlike magic users whose spells are often used during battles, a cleric's spells are usually needed after battles, such as cures, or for general exploring, such as detecting things. If your party has enough fighters, your cleric should not need to fight often, but he is equipped for fighting if his combat skill is needed. I love this because it puts an implication in my head. Doesn't say it directly. We're not talking four person groups here. We're talking 6 to 8 person groups.
Yeah.
There's
going to be fighters. At least 2 or 3 fighters in that damn group.
Right. Or 2 or 3 thieves, because one's going to go down. But yeah, it's. I love the implication here, where it's like, hey, you know what? You might have enough fighters, not just a fighter in your group. So, watch for ways that his spells can help before, during, and after battles. For the first 3 levels of experience, a cleric's powers are very limited, but as they advance to a maximum of 36 level, clerics obtain more spells of great power due to practice and the strengthening of their beliefs. It is very important for clerics to be faithful to their beliefs, and game masters take note of this. Make sure that the cleric is staying true to alignment and beliefs. If a cleric behaves in a manner that is not consistent with the character's alignment or beliefs, I didn't even read that. Okay. The cleric may be punished by the order or by even greater powers. Jimmy Hoffa will come back from the dead, and we found him!
And he's coming after you.
He's coming after you, right? This punishment could be a penalty on attack rolls, a dangerous quest that must be completed, or even a lack of spells. The DM will tell you what the character must do to regain his good standing.
Hang on.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Having read that paragraph, if you have a new player who wants to play a cleric, do him a solid and have his alignment be his beliefs. Have it be the same thing. That way he only has to keep track of one thing. You know, it'll be easier for everyone around, because it is supposed to be very detrimental for a cleric to go against his belief or go against his god. It's supposed to be a damn disaster for him. It's supposed to be.
It depends on how far you go off track. You know what I compare this to? Discipline violations from Earth Dawn.
Yeah.
If it's a minor violation, you get a little, hey,
slap on the wrist.
Get back on track. If you decide just to go against, was it Mage's Musings that was talking about this on Friday? I think it was him. Talk about the cleric or paladin or whatever, just completely went off the rails, and he's like, yeah, you're done. I think Doc was the one that said that his favorite thing that he ever wrote or did with a character sheet was he grabbed it to re-race paladin and wrote in fighter. Like, yeah. And we'll get to paladins when we talk about fighters in a little bit. But what I like about this is it shows you options. Maybe just for the sake of argument, let's take something that wasn't even on the screen here. You know what? You stepped out a little bit. I'm going to punish your saving throws for 24 hours or until you atone. I'm going to punish your attack rolls, which it says here. There are other things you can do. You know what? I'm going to give you only half XP for anything you do today. Whatever. There are options that you have here that don't just have to be taking away the spells. Although the spell thing is a pretty good reminder, like, hey, you work for me, pal. Your spells should be used for me. No. Peter Jackson approves of Heathen Dog's cleric description. I kick ass for the Lord.
Exactly. I love that movie.
All right, anyway, class details. All right, prime requisite, we already talked about that, is wisdom. If your cleric has a wisdom score of 13 to 15, the character gains a 5% bonus to experience points earned in every adventure. If his wisdom is 16 to 18, earns 10% bonus to XP. You'll hit that 36 even faster. Roll a 6-sided die to determine your cleric's hit points. And plus any constitution bonus, which Heathen Dog doesn't have, but he's also a thief, not a cleric.
Right.
Armor. A cleric can wear any kind of armor and can use a shield. A cleric cannot use any weapon with a sharp edge or point. This is forbidden by the cleric's beliefs. This includes arrows and quarrels, but the cleric can use any non-edged weapon. So what does it mean if a character does use it? Well, I think we just discussed it. You're going against your core beliefs of your organization, of your class. So
every time you do, it's going to be a minor violation, I would say. Every time you do it. I mean, I understand. Sometimes you have to kill this guy and there's no stick around. There's no club. There is only this pointy dagger. Mm-hmm. And it's got to happen. Well, then you take your lumps.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is important, what Heathen Dog just said there. You take your lumps. Oh, come on, that's not fair. God's never been fair.
Don't care about fair. They only care that you walk the damn line.
Yep.
That's it. And you can justify it all you want, but even if it's only your belief system, you went against your belief system. You did that. But there was no other way. There was a way. Lose.
Yeah, maybe God's plan was you die.
Yeah.
Or the rest of the party dies, whatever, and you could have got
you chose winning over your beliefs. You chose winning over God. There's going to be a punishment for that. Take it. Suck it up and move on.
Now, that doesn't mean you have to go excessive on the cleric, especially if he's in an emergency situation. Remember, I'm going to get biblical here for a second. Moses didn't listen to God, but he still got to lead the Israelites for another few years, right? He just wasn't allowed in the promised land. Yeah. So you don't have to overly punish by take away. Well, you know what? You didn't use the blunt end of the dagger, as Mage's Musing said there. You used the pointy stick end. So I'm going to take away all of your spells for the next 2 months. Wait, what? that might be a little excessive.
Seems excessive. Yeah.
So, all right. Special abilities.
Of course, your god could be the god of D-bags. I don't know.
Could be, yeah. The cleric has 2 special abilities, turning undead monsters and casting clerical spells. A cleric has the power to force certain monsters called the undead, skeletons, zombies, ghouls, wights, and other types, to run away or even perish. The special ability is called turning undead. When a cleric encounters an undead monster, the cleric may either attack it normally with a weapon or spell, or try to turn it. The cleric cannot both attack and turn undead in one round. So,
fine.
When you want your cleric to try to turn undead, just tell your dungeon master, I'll try to turn undead this round. Fair enough. The power to turn undead is inherent in the cleric. He does not need the symbol of his faith or any device to do it, unless the DM declares otherwise. But that would be something that would come up in session 0.
Exactly. Yes. That would be tied to the faith that you chose when you were creating your character, and your game master at that time is obligated to say, no, your faith requires you to carry a holy symbol and use it during acts of faith.
Right.
Oh, thanks.
The reason that this comment is in here, though, is one, because it's going to be based on setting, but we're all used to the whole thing holding out the crucifix, right? To ward the vampires away. You don't have to do that. I think that adds power. I think that adds gravitas.
Gravitas to the situation, definitely. Yeah.
But it's all going to be based on your setting. In fact, one of the things I think so many people get wrong, I shouldn't say wrong, don't do as well as they could, especially in a pantheistic world, is that the cleric still focuses on one god. Well, I carry the holy symbol of this. Well, clerics recognize all the powers, don't they? At least later editions. Maybe this one's different, but I mean, this is more of a cause. Let's be honest about that. But they act like the American or the current world monotheistic style is the norm. And if you look at Roman and Greek and Indian and so on and so forth, it's not done that way. All right, so the power to turn undead is inherent, does not need a symbol of his faith unless... undead monsters are not automatically turned by the cleric. When the encounter occurs, the player must refer to the cleric's turning undead table, we'll look at that in a moment, to find the effect the cleric has. When the cleric tries to turn an undead monster, find the cleric's level of experience across the top of the table, read down to the left. Again, we'll look at the chart in a moment. If you see a dash, then you cannot turn the monster. It's too tough for you. If you see anything else, you have a chance to turn the monster, perhaps several monsters. We'll read about that below. Apply the result immediately. There's something specific I'm looking for here. If the attempt succeeds, one or more of the undead monsters will retreat or be destroyed. But don't forget, if the monster is turned, it hasn't been destroyed, and it may decide to return soon. Here we go. If you try to turn a specific undead monster, for instance, one specific vampire, and fail, you cannot try again to turn it in the same fight. At some later encounter, you can try to turn that individual again. So, the point being there is, like, if a monster saves its saving throw, or you don't turn them, okay, there's 2 ways I want to say it. Let's say there are 50 zombies in a room, all right? And you roll your 2d6 to see how many you turned, and you get 7. 7 zombies run away. Now, there's a couple ways you can handle this. You could say, well, these 5 are the ones that weren't, whatever, they're 50 in there. Can the cleric do it again next round? Yes. But at some point there, the ones that weren't turned, that successfully just ignored you, well, they can't be turned until a future fight.
Right. So you as the dungeon master have to say, okay, it was a possible total of what, 12 that could be turned? Mm-hmm. You turn 7, that means 5 of them are immune. 5 of the remaining, 30 whatever are immune to turning. It's not going to be important at that moment or even the next round, but after a few rounds of your cleric saying the power of Christ compels you, and has tried to turn all but, almost all of the original 50, the ones that are left are armored up. They will no longer, they cannot be turned anymore. And that's why the dungeon master has to keep track of who was not successfully turned.
I would actually go so far as to say this is optional, of course. You don't even have to keep track. At some point, it's just not going to work anymore if you want to do that. The point that I was trying to make was that you can do this multiple times, because I think, and if I'm wrong about this, it's just been that it's been a long time, and it's typically how we've played it. In second edition, you only get one attempt. I don't remember you having multiple attempts in second edition. Here you have multiple attempts unless I want that vampire gone and you fail. Well, guess what? If it didn't work the first time,
it's not going to work
the second. Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with what Heathen Dog said either if you want to do that kind of accounting.
Yeah, if you are facing like a Dawn of the Dead level vampire apocalypse, you're gonna have to make some wiggle room for your cleric. You know, if there's 1,000 zombies out there, you get to turn 2d6, one try. He's gonna look at you and go, dude, seriously, serious? And then you're gonna have to answer to that.
Now we're gonna look at the chart here in a moment. But whenever a number is listed, the cleric has a chance to turn the undead monsters. The player rolls 2d6, so 2 6-sided dice. If the total is equal to or greater than the number given, the attempt at turning undead is successful. Want to play this out again here. You're not rolling a d20 to reach his target number. You're rolling 2d6. This might be different than what some people are used to. If you play basic, you're probably like, duh. But for people who don't, so 7 is average. So the lowest form, a 7, well, that's an average roll. In order to get that tough one, you need to roll an 11 on 2d6. I don't know what the percentages are on that, but it's like around 5 or 8 or something like that. So if the total is equal to or greater than the number, the attempt is successful. So just match it. When the attempt at turning undead is successful, the dungeon master, not the player, I love how it actually says it there, will roll 2d6 to determine the number of hit dice of undead monsters that turn away. At least one monster will be turned regardless of what the DM rolls on his dice.
Okay, so this is important. This is actually important because there are a lot of jabroni undead out there that are considered half a hit die. And, obviously you're going to turn... if you turn 7 hit dice worth of creatures, you're going to turn 14 of these jabroni creatures. But there are also undead out there that are 20 hit die. Well, you're not going to roll that on a 2d6. But if you're only aiming at 1, you're going to get at least 1. Dracula, you could turn Dracula. You're probably not going to turn anyone else, but just Dracula.
Well, it doesn't say, it says 2d6 determine the number of hit dice of undead monsters that turn away. Now, what I don't see, at least yet, does it start at the bottom and work up? Like, well, you turn the zombies, but sorry. But
let's look at the example. Maybe it'll give us an example.
So, where is it? A first level cleric has just encountered a group of 7 zombies. Zombies, as you... can learn in chapter 14, each have 2 hit dice. The cleric tries to turn them. On the turning table, a first level cleric versus a zombie yields a result of 9. We'll just look at that right now. Zombie, right there. Your first level, that's the 1. Zombie requires a 9. And again, we will look at that more in a bit. The cleric must roll a 9 or greater on 2d6 to turn the zombies. The cleric's player rolls 2d6 and achieves a 10. He has successfully turned undead. Good job. The DM now rolls to see what sort of result the cleric achieves. He rolls 2d6 and achieves an 8. In other words, the cleric turns 8 hit dice of zombies. Since each zombie is a 2 hit die creature, the cleric has turned 4 of them. So 4 of the 7 are gonzo, right? 4 zombies turn and begin shambling away from the cleric as fast as they can move. This leaves the cleric with only 3 to fight. Next round, he can attack them with weapons or spells, or he can try to turn them too. Okay, right there. Look at that.
Oh, okay. All right. Since that roll... Oh, no.
That's interesting. So, I've never heard of
It's not number of individual undead. It's hit dice worth of undead. So a failure only makes... the group.
I can simplify that. No, I can simplify this.
Okay.
This is just something that I don't think has ever happened in my games because I never allowed it, and it might be because of rules or it might just because of our play style. I don't know. I've never had anybody say there's a group of undead, and I love undead. I use undead a lot. I played a ton of necromancers. This was my jam. All right. So I would have zombies and ghouls and gas and whites and so forth, right? In a party. I never had them say, I'm trying to turn just the white. What they would do is they'd hold out their holy symbol and they'd say, the power of Christ compels you. And I started at the bottom. You got rid of because they're the ones that, in my mind, that would be most affected.
Right.
So my read on this now is that in basic, or maybe I was just doing it wrong, or it was a house rule that I just
only a targeted fail makes him immune.
Right.
Right. Yep.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever done a targeted turn?
Actually, yes,
okay.
But it was in second edition and it was successful. I didn't have to adjudicate it. There was a vampire with a whole bunch of zombie minions, and the cleric says, "No, I'm shooting for the vampire because the fighters can take care of the zombies, jabroni bullshit zombies. So I got to get rid of the vampire." So he actually said, "I'm turning the vampire."
I'm starting to think because it had the different tables on there, the different number. No, I did start at the bottom. So if you got the automatic turn or even destruction, I let that happen. Yep. And then whatever you made the number up to, that's what you got. And then I did the roll, per the 2d6. Yeah. I thought it was 2d6 number, not hit dice. But again, it's been a long time since I've done second edition. But what this implies to me is, without implicitly saying it, or without explicitly saying it, implicitly it's implying, yeah, you can target. I don't care about the gas. I'm not worried about poison right now. I don't want to be level drained. I'm going after the white.
Sure.
Okay.
And if you succeed, only the white is gone. It doesn't matter how many hit dice the white has, because you get a minimum of one turn. And since you targeted only one thing, you win.
So, but see, that begs a couple more questions here. First, question number one. Let's say the white. I don't know what the hit dice of white are here. I don't.
Let's just
care.
say it's 8.
Let's say. I was going to say 5. I was going to say 5
okay.
for.
Okay, 5.
So it's a 5 hit die creature. You roll 2d6, and let's just say you boxcar the thing. You get 12 hit dice worth of creatures that you turn. Would that be the white plus more?
Yes.
Or would you say just, okay, because that's how I rule that as well. I'd give you white plus more.
The reason I say that is because it says at least one is turned.
Mm-hmm.
At least.
So then let's flip that. You roll the 2d6, and you get
you roll
3.
snake eyes.
Okay, snake eyes. You get snake eyes. Now the white is a 5. You didn't make it.
Yes, but that was your primary target, and you get at least one. He's turned. But
Fair
nothing
enough.
else.
I don't disagree with that. I was just, I'm trying to theory craft it because I haven't done this in all my times. And if I have, I don't remember. So, okay, interesting. Let's go on here. This leaves the cleric with only 3 to fight. Next round, he can attack with weapons or spells. T, and this is going to be something you'll see on the chart, which again we'll show in a moment. The attempt at turning the undead automatically succeeds, so you don't even have to roll. The cleric player does not need to roll for success to determine how many undead will be turned. The DM, it's still the 2d6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless,
of course, you were aiming and then you just win.
Right. Yep. The attempt at turning the undead. So this is a D now.
Yeah.
The attempt at turning the undead automatically succeeds. In fact, it succeeds so well that the affected monsters are destroyed instead of merely turned. To determine how many hit dice of undead will be destroyed, the DM rolls 2d6 as described above. Regardless of his roll, at least one undead will be destroyed.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's good, but that's got to be high up. Okay, I got to see the chart.
We'll see the chart. DM decides what happens when the monster is destroyed. They might fade away, burst in flame, crumble away, or disintegrate like vampire sunlight, for instance. Please don't be a dick, and I've seen this before, of have it blow up and then having the party take damage.
Take damage from like shrapnel of like, zombie bullshit. No, don't do that.
Yes.
Don't.
D plus, you roll 3d6.
Sure.
D hash or pound, I don't know, 4d6.
Well, in this case, I'd say pound. Just it's
D
more
pound.
appropriate.
All right. Using clerical spells. That's starting at second level. So if you've earned 1,500 experience points or more, the cleric can use spells. All right. Let's look at those charts before we get into higher experience levels.
Yeah, I want to see the chart.
All right. Here's the turning chart. We'll do that first.
Okay.
Hopefully you can see that clear. Ooh, that's zoomed in too much. Yeah, I got one or the other.
It's not very clear. But that's just the way it is. Dracula would be a special undead. and you can never outright destroy him. But you can outright turn him if you're level 25.
Yes. That's the T over here. Yep. So specters, people. Okay. So Wraith. It doesn't say hit die in here for Wraith. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is about 5-ish.
Yeah.
You need an 11 at level 3. So that's not bad.
No.
I mean, you're only level 3, and that thing's what, 5, 6 hit dice?
Yeah.
Oops. Sorry. Wraith. There we go. You'd only need a 9 for a white, 7 for a ghoul. Zombies and skeletons are just 2D. 6 of them are automatically turned. So you guys by this point should be able to understand how this chart is, and it goes all the way up to level 36. Notice at level 36, there's even actually starting at level 25. Screw it, everything's turned or destroyed.
Yep.
Now, it's limited in number. If you got a horde of zombies coming at you, you're still going to have to do this for multiple rounds. And as of yet, I saw somebody ask the question in chat. I haven't seen any limitation. I see no limitation to how often you can use this. Number of
times per day. The only thing that the book has said, or the book has indicated, is that if you fail an attempt, and I'm inferring from the book on this one, at a specific target, you cannot do that specific target again.
Yeah, right. When it's just, there's a chat I want to start up here. Oh, you already did. Yeah, when it's a specific target, yes. Other than that, keep going till they're all gone.
Yeah.
Okay, and then spells. Let's look at spells. We're not going to look at spells today. All right. Well, that's going to be in a couple of weeks, but starting at level 2, so when your cleric over here is level 2, you get 1 first level spell. And no second edition, folks, you don't get a bonus for high wisdom. You don't get 3. But to be honest, I like that because it stops the ability score farming. Notice this, though. Every other level, you get a spell, right?
Well, every level you get a spell. Every other level, it seems you go up in rank.
Yes. Sorry, I meant every third level. Until you want to get your 7th level spell, you get your 12th at 12th level. You get your 6th level spell, and you don't get the 7th level until 17.
Yeah. You really got to work for that last little bit of favor from your belief or God. Yeah.
But you're still spending over half your career, if you want to count levels as your career, with that 7th level spell. And look how you cap that out. 9, 9, 9,
yeah,
9.
all 9s. That's
9.
That's crazy. That's
9
crazy.
7th level spells.
9 7th level spells. You don't need any other spells in that. You don't need any more. If you have 9 7th level spells, you can do anything you want.
All right. And then saving throws. So you don't actually have to go to the chart that we showed in the character creation video. You can just get it from here. Nice and even simpler. I'm glad that this is put here. I should have known this because I actually made a cleric, but whatever. So first level character, 11, 12, 14, 16, 15. But remember, if you have a low wisdom or a high wisdom, this is 15/something because spell, not rod staff, but spell will be adjusted. Mm-hmm. I might theoretically just house rule to make life easier, just adjust them all, but that's up to you. All right, last thing we're going to talk about with the cleric, high experience levels. Because every class in this game, well, every human one, I'm not sure about them, humans, gets something like this. When a cleric reaches name level, that's 9th level, he's called a patriarch or a matriarch. At this point in his adventuring career, he has several options available to him. You're going to make a choice at this point. And the choice does matter, and it will even say, don't allow people to flip-flop all willy-nilly. If the character is a neutral cleric, he can decide to become a druid. He certainly does not have to change his class, though. So, and we'll talk about the druid in a couple weeks. We're not going to do that today. If the cleric is a neutral who does not want to become a druid, or if he's lawful or chaotic alignment, he must decide whether to build a clerical stronghold approved by his order. Oh, I guess that's the end of the sentence. It's like, I was waiting for the or. Depending on how the DM has set up his campaign, where's my bar? The cleric might have built himself a home, even a lavish castle long before. However, that was his personal home. Regardless how big or big it is or what he has done with it. Here we're talking about a stronghold sanctioned by the cleric's orders, one which will be built and maintained to further the goals of the order. And this is the term you're going to see a lot. Landowning versus traveling. You're going to see this with the fighter, with the thief. You're going to see this is the choice to make at 9th level. A cleric who decides to build a stronghold with the sanction of his clerical order is called a landowning cleric. It's just a convenient term. Don't worry about it. There are advantages and disadvantages to setting up a clerical stronghold. Advantages. The character can progress up through the ranks of his clerical order. Well, there you go. Now you can start bossing some people around. The character may receive financial aid from his order toward building of the stronghold. Why not? You're spreading the faith, as long as as long as they've got it, right? The character may be able to increase his lands and build strong settlements there. Of course, everybody swears fealty to you, thus your god, or your cause, right? Which could result in him becoming a very wealthy character indeed. Well, what are the disadvantages? The character will be the chief clerical authority for his clerical order for the lands around a stronghold. This means that he has clerical responsibilities to all the people living on and around his lands. Responsibilities which may interfere with his desire to travel with his old adventuring friends, or which may confront him with difficult problems. This is domain play. If you want to slide into domain play, boom, right there. All right? Now, some people, like me, I don't like domain play. If I wanted to play domain play, I'd play Risk or Birthright. I want to keep adventuring. So what is a traveling cleric? A cleric who decides not to build a stronghold sanctioned by his orders is referred to as a traveling cleric, even if he's not always on the road traveling. There are also advantages and disadvantages to being a traveling cleric. The cleric does not have to tie himself down, or these are advantages, right? Does not have to tie himself down to any one place or group of people, except when acting on official requests from his order, which is going to happen, but generally you can go where you please. Disadvantages. I mean, hey, at some point they're going to be like, you're finding artifacts out there? Tie it to the church, give us what we think is important to us, and keep doing your thing. Here, have a magic sword. Or, wait, not sword, magic sword. Disadvantages. The cleric may not rise to or above the rank of a land-owning cleric. You are always going to be serving fealty to somebody.
Yeah, you're always going to be a sergeant. You're never going to be a lieutenant. That's
right.
That's
there you go. In military terms, right, you're always going to be the enlisted guy. And may not achieve much political influence within his order. He doesn't stop earning experience points, experience levels, or personal power. He just cannot climb any higher in the clerical order's hierarchy. Now, somebody might be like, well, if I'm level 36 and you're level 10, you're going to listen to what I say. Well,
no.
let's keep the military theme. Chief Master Sergeant, E9 in the Air Force. He's going to listen, the lieutenant, he might be saluting that lieutenant and saying, yes, sir, to that lieutenant. And the lieutenant is going to lead the squadron, or, well, I guess lieutenant would be flight. But the chief's got his ear. The chief is not giving him orders. Ultimately, it's the lieutenant's decision.
Yeah. It's not orders, it's suggestions.
Right. Every good company grade officer has a senior NCO in his ear.
Yeah.
But ultimately, who makes the decisions? And if that chief has to be put down, probably won't be by a lieutenant, but let's just go with it in the purposes of the game.
The officer is going to actually make the final call, which means the landowning cleric is the officer in this instance. And if a traveling cleric who's level 30 walks into the landowning cleric's land and starts saying stuff that the landowning cleric has said before is not true, that guy better shut up. The traveling cleric better shut up. Because all the landowning cleric has to do is bring the power of the entire order down on this guy, and he's done so.
You might be going to landowning cleric's area. Welcome, Sir Heathen Dog, who is level 30 and I'm level 10, right? Welcome, Sir Heathen Dog. You are coming to the feast tonight in your honor, but you're on a mission for something else. Too bad.
Yeah, you're going to a feast now.
Yeah, you're going to a feast now. Welcome. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to understand that you're not the guy in charge, but you get to have more fun, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't stop earning experience by we said personal power. It just cannot climb in the clerical order's hierarchy. It's strictly a hierarchy thing. The cleric still has responsibilities to his clerical order, naturally as before. He may be required at any time to uphold the beliefs and accomplish the goals of his order. So I'm not going to read all the becoming a landowner part here.
You understand the gist of it, I imagine.
Right. But you are making the choice. It does talk about here. I do want to read this part, though, and this is going to be true for all of them. Yeah. Once a player decides to be a traveling or landowning cleric, only a major development in the campaign or in the character should change that status. The DM should discourage frequent or casual changes of the cleric's status.
Here's an example. Drastic changes. You are a traveling cleric. You go into someone else's land. Some cleric, some landowning cleric has settlements in this land. That landowning cleric is assassinated. You are the highest level cleric in the area now. You can take over the land that the assassinated cleric owned. Boom, you changed. Or your stronghold is destroyed in some kind of, epic battle with the heathens, right? Your stronghold's gone. You are now a traveling cleric because you have no home. It's burned down. You lost. Suck it up, move on. So stuff like that, giant swings in the pendulum, are going to change that. Anything else? No.
There we go. That's the cleric. I thought we might have time for the fighter. I probably could squeeze it in, but I'm not going to try. We'll do the fighter next week. This is actually on target. Week 2 fighter. So
there you go. We're good.
So yeah, we're good. So that's the cleric. If there's anything you think we got wrong, if there's things that you like about it, if there are things you didn't know, go ahead and put that into the comment section there. Absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this. Definitely chat was hopping with some comments there. I started a couple. I know you started a couple as well. So go ahead and throw some of that on the screen.
Okay. No spells at first level. In my BECMI game, I'm looking forward to my cleric player hitting second level and describing the dream where his immortal patron reaching out to him. This is a great role-playing thing where you've proven yourself to your god or immortal supernatural being or to yourself. And now you are granted the largesse that is going to be magical ability. That is a great role-playing deal. I love that.
Put that comment back up for a second.
Oh, I can't.
That's fine. What I loved about that comment, though, also, and Heathen Dog kind of mentioned this already, was the role-playing side. In a game that a lot of people keep acting like it's all about players, it's not really about role-playing. It's about just players deciding, and role-playing is just saying, I'm going to take my 10-foot pole and poke a floor or whatever. Is that you've put that role-playing element in there, and I love that. I think that is great. You're finding that balance between the game mechanics and playing the character, and yeah, I hope you continue doing stuff like that. That's absolutely amazing. And I do the same thing. Like I'm just a servant right now. I have not been blessed, but when I do get blessed, even that one little miracle I can perform just shows that my strength and faith is growing. I love that.
The culmination of years of your faith.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if it's the sissiest butt spell in the world. It is an example of the power of your faith. I love it.
Sissiest butt spell. Wow.
Level 1 is Apprentice. You get to play with mops. Yeah. In this one, level 1 is Apprentice. In later iterations of D&D and many other games, level 1 is you've already done the Apprentice thing, and now you are a leveled character, which means you've already proven yourself. But not in this game.
Well, it's also kind of funny because I think this came up when we were talking the Teamster side of things too.
Yeah. And then we have, in my game, clerics have their patron immortals, but would respect and could appeal to other immortals of a similar alignment or ethos, etc. Yeah, this is the whole polytheism versus monotheism thing. Like in a monotheistic thing, your god is literally the only god. Everyone else is either confused or incorrect. But in polytheism, all these other gods have their place, and you respect that. But this is the horse you hitched your wagon to. This one. So that one takes precedence. But if your god doesn't care, then, do some good stuff for other gods. Doesn't matter. It's fine. It's fine.
I think DCC has the best balance to this. It kind of has that monotheistic thing that so many of us in the West are used to, but it plays on that idea that it is polytheistic world, and that's if we are the same faith, healing is full. If we're of similar faith but not the same, we'll say like using the monotheism side of it, Jew versus Christian or whatever. Okay, you know what? I can heal you. We got the same background, a little different, but it's a little less healing. But then if it's, you're completely off the rails, you're some satanic cult or whatever, I can't heal you. I just can't. Oop, didn't work. God says no because my God doesn't want you to keep existing.
Yeah, because you are a full-blown heathen. So,
right.
No. I'm not even allowed to touch you. I should be spitting in your face. Anyway.
But that's not in Dungeons & Dragons. That was DCC.
No, it's not. What happens if you attempt to turn a crowd of undead, let's say 20 skeletons, you pass the first attempt and turn 8 of them. Fail the second attempt. Are all the remaining undead safe from turning? I would adjudicate no. What I would do is I would roll that 2d6. Whatever I rolled, that hit dice worth of the undead are now immune. That's what I would do.
If I was planning this, a session 0, I'd think about it.
Yeah, because skeletons are 1 hit die creatures. Yeah, and if there's 20 of them, that's 20 hit dice total. Mm-hmm. So if you fail in the attempt, I would roll 2d6, and I'd roll it right now, and I'd get 8. That means you can only turn 12 hit dice, just 12 hit dice worth left. 8 hit dice, 8 skeletons are immune from your turning today, or in this instance.
I'd probably let you keep trying, or at some point here, if you got to a point where you just failed, I might say, no, you're done. It just doesn't work. Your conviction, your power, your faith isn't with you. I'd have to go back to, I don't have the book up anymore, but I'd have to go back to read the language of the book. But I thought the book said if you succeed, you can do it again. But it didn't say anything about if you fail. So
it didn't say if you fail, you can't.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't say that.
But it left the door open where maybe I'd let you do it again. I don't know. I mean, that's one of those things that I'd have to play by the situation, but we'd have to come to a definitive rule after the session to say, this is how I'm going to work this in the future. Yeah. I love those kind of frameworks, by the way.
I know, right?
Because it allows him to run the game differently than me, but still have the same overall rules.
Right. What is the max range on turn undead? In all of my games, and I don't know where I read this, if I read this somewhere, but if the recipient of your turning can see and hear you, that's the range. That's the range. They have to know they're being turned. That's it.
Yeah, I as a rule of thumb, I agree with that. Where, again, players, man, where I get into the problem is somebody be like, I'm standing on the roof and I can see him all the way out there. And I said, power of Christ compels you.
Okay, if they can't see or hear you, or see and hear you, it's not going to matter. Well, the power of Christ did not reach them. Because you are the conduit for your God's power. If they can't hear and see you, they can't hear and see God. That's my thinking.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, how players will try to abuse it. I've screamed from a rooftop before and somebody could hear. It's like, you know what? It's got to be within reason. But yeah, if I'm not going to count it down to 120 feet, and if he's an inch more, sorry.
No, not going to do that. But if the recipient of the turn can see and hear you to the point where they know they're trying to be turned, it'll work. If they can't, then it won't work. You got to wait. You got to wait to close the distance.
Yep, I agree.
All right. And last one, Mage's Musings. XP level is not necessarily equal to social or military rank. Exactly right. I've had players balk at the idea of a 0 level king, but that's a lot of times that happens because, okay, I understand, but a lot of kings in times of peace, especially, will have no combat experience whatsoever. They only have administrative training and administrative experience. And there's a lot of 0 level sages out there. And that's exactly what a non-militaristic king is.
Well, a lot of times it also send their sons to war to become part of the military and so forth. Yeah, and
that's if they have a disposable one. That's if they have an extra. If you don't have a backup, then you don't do that because then you'll kill the line of succession.
All right,
and that's what I got.
All right. Well, again, chat's flying today. Love it. Sorry, we can't put everything on the screen, but I'm still trying to find everything and restream. Boom. There we go. Hopefully you like that discussion. The cleric is going to be a longer one. I think another long one is probably going to be the magic user. That one because we got to talk about spells and so forth. But the cleric has just some weird things that it can do on the side that probably makes that the longest one of the videos. Next week we'll be talking about the fighter, the magic user, the thief, and the dwarf. If we have time, we'll do more than that. But those are the 4 that I have planned for next week. And if we can sneak in elf, halfling, druid, and mystic, we will. But so the next week or 2 is going to be character classes, and we're going to dive into each one and discuss each one as we did here. If you like that, let us know. If you want us to improve our discussion and have some thoughts, go ahead and put that in the description. If you've got anything that you think that we said that was completely wrong or right, you love, please timestamp it. Otherwise, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't memorize the videos after we're done with them, so please timestamp. But we'd really love to hear from you. So yeah, like, subscribe, and share.